Crystal Lake enthusiasts out there. Your two favorite wild ghoul uncles back here for Cinephellas doing more 31 days of horror. I'm Logan Myers. It's my good mate over there.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Henry Voorhees. We're going back to Crystal Lake tonight, Camp Crystal Lake, that is, for the 2009 reboot of the famous slasher series that's been going on since the early 80s. And we are covering Marcus Nispel's Friday the 13th.
2009.
Bring trouble. Just won't be left alone. And so does he.
So does who?
Richie, stop fucking around.
Me and you have been going to the movies together for, 20 years, whatever. It's been a long time. But I remember me and you went and saw this when it came out, 2009, and both of us hated it back then and almost walked out of the theater halfway through. And not much has changed rewatching this, 15 years later for the, first time watching it since it was dropped in the theater. And yeah, what a shit show from start to finish. But before we get into that, this is, I guess, a remake, a reboot of the original films, 1980, Sean S. Cunningham, the OG, the original, the first few films were really amazing. All these, fast forward all these years later, new concept with Marcus Nispel directing this. Also did the 2003 remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I absolutely loved. Sets up as you can imagine, a group of people, young adults, not teenagers, come across the boarded up campsite of Crystal Lake, and Jason starts killing.
Yeah, a group of teenagers that all look like they're in their 30s, like a lot of movies that we're watching lately. For the 31 days of horror, but we had to cover more Jason. And yeah, that's hard to believe. That was the last time both of us had watched this movie. And now I know why, because it was so bad the first time. And the Jason in this, he's just so hulking and huge, doesn't move like Jason did in the movies. He's not slow and stealthy. He's running after the victims. He's just gigantic. He can't hide. It reminds me a lot of the Rob Zombie remake of Halloween with Tyler Mane being so gigantic and just taking you out of the film, because we're so used to Jason here being like, a bigger guy, but not this gigantic Hulk that can overpower everybody. He was just kind of like a normal guy, but had superhuman strength. But in this one, it's just like he's acting like he's never acted before.
Yeah, it definitely took me out of the film early on. But, another aspect of this movie is how they went about this with like the mom, Jason's mom, and the new cast of people. There was nobody likable in this movie from start to finish.
No.
Jared Padalecki, I do like him as an actor, been in a lot of great stuff. I didn't even care for him in this movie, and just like kind of standard run of the mill, story, nothing new here, nothing reinvigorating, nothing that stands out to me. And even some of the kill scenes weren't that good.
Yeah, I agree with you. A lot of the characters just annoying and there to be Jason's victims. That's all there was. Not saying in the earlier movies, all the sequels throughout the years, there were a ton of likable characters, but there's usually one or two per movie that you would, rally behind and kind of get with. In this one, Jared Padalecki, he's just like this quiet guy. I mean, he's a nice enough guy, but the writing for the characters in this is just bad from start to finish. And Jason's whole backstory and his mom, they don't really, do a complete reboot of it. It's pretty much the same thing. His mom is a killer and she gets her head chopped off, and that starts Jason on this revenge tour. And this, for some reason, Jason's more like a woodsy kind of hermit here, and lives on this big gigantic pot farm, which of course all the kids run into and meet their demise because they're looking at all these big pot plants out in the field. And then here comes Jason, and we get some brutal kills in this.
Yeah, some unbelievable situations with Jason. Of course, a lot of stuff they've never talked about in any of the other movies. Like you mentioned, the size, but him running, shooting a bow and arrow, just a lot of ridiculous situations here that, following the lore is just doesn't make sense. A lot of things didn't make sense in this. I think the writing was a big problem with this movie. The involvement and love for the characters, like I have in other movies, didn't cheer for one of them, didn't care what happened to any of them, didn't even care about, Jason Voorhees either. Uh, no hate towards Derek Mears. I loved when he played Swamp Thing and other characters and movies and TV shows, but this, yeah, it just didn't work for me. I was just taken out of the movie from like 5 minutes into it and didn't really care. Played it in the background. I'm like, okay, whatever. I haven't missed anything, and not much has changed in 15 years. I still hate this movie.
Yeah, it's lifeless. Doesn't feel, faithful to the original films. It doesn't even really have the, it does that a little bit like in the beginning of the film, but it's like not even used in key situations in the film. And that would have made it a little bit more familiar for us Jason fans out there. Show us something cool. But yeah, between Jason just not acting like Jason Voorhees has always acted, he's, just a regular looking guy. In the other films, a little bigger. This is just like a hulking giant of a man, and, pretty much picks everybody up and is real physical. Whereas, the other Jasons were just relied on the machete and, a couple of cool kill scenes in this, but overall, yeah, not my favorite out of the whole sequels. And I can see why it failed. And, we haven't gotten a movie since 2009 from this franchise.
Oh my God, what a forgettable movie. Watched it 2 nights ago. I forgot most of it because it was so uninteresting. I will say Ryan Hansen was in this. I like him as an actor. He was in Veronica Mars and a bunch of other stuff, but I thought he was pretty cool and funny. Smaller parts, and the rest of the cast pretty forgettable. Amanda Rigetti played Whitney in this movie. She was from the OC back in the day, me and you loved. And of course, Jared Padalecki. Everybody else, not even going to mention. Not even worth my time. This is a movie I probably won't watch for another 15, 20 years. Easily the worst of the franchise. This is worse than Jason X. This is how much I hate this movie. And movie we don't recommend watching during the Halloween season or 31 Days of Horror. Don't waste your time on this. Watch the other films, especially the first four in the franchise. Really amazing. So that being said, I'm going to give Friday the 13th from 2009. I'm going to give it a half of a hairpiece out of 5. Probably the lowest score I've ever given in my life.
Damn.
Jason Voorhees hairpieces.
Well, I won't go that far as a half a hairpiece, but I agree with you. I had nothing that I wanted to see from a Jason movie. This is something that I want to instantly forget watching here. There was nothing enthralling about it. No likable characters. Jason sucked in this. Definitely the worst. I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5 Pamela Voorhees hairpieces.
So I want to hear from all you CC DeVille enthusiasts out there. What did you like about the Friday the 13th film from 2009? What didn't you like about it? What's your favorite film in the franchise? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, check out these wild ghouls on Facebook, X, and Instagram, and our website, Cinephellas.com, for the latest, greatest TV, movie news, and horror reviews.
Woo! We love horror, and we love it during the 31 Days of Horror. Make sure to check back for our other 31 Days of Horror reviews of years past. We covered our favorite Jason kills. So that video is out there for you guys to click on. Thank you guys for following us all month long during these 31 Days of Horror. We've been having a blast revisiting these movies that we haven't watched in many years, going back and watching some of the Friday the 13th movies. We're going to do some Nightmare on Elm Street. We did Freddy versus Jason. So we've had a blast already, and the month is not over yet. So there's going to be plenty more for these wild, horrific fans out there. So until the next one, I'm Uncle Henry Voorhees.
And I'm Uncle Logan Padalecki, signing out until the next horror review for 31 Days of Horror. And horrors. Cheers!
Cheers!